Listen, the transfer portal is running amok right now. Over 1,500 players are looking for their next home, and we here at SEC Unfiltered can only do our part by highlighting some premier names that eventually could find their way to an SEC location and be a reason why your team goes to the college football playoff. One underrated name, though, is Eric Rivers, the wide receiver out of Florida International. He is drawing rave interest across the country and definitely would be an upgrade to any pass catching room in the conference. So where does he best fit, and what team should at least be intrigued about adding in the former Panther? What's going on, SEC Unfiltered family? It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, smash that ring notification down below, and hit the subscribe button, especially if you love all things college football, whether it be transfer portal news, college football playoff, coaching searches, anything that goes on with National Signing Day. This is your number one source, so hit subscribe. Download the podcast version of the show. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels at SEC Unfiltered. If you want to follow me, that way the back and forth banner can continue, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson. And check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the #1 fantasy app for all things college sports, and they want to give you $50 with your first $5 lineup. So simply go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code SECU, set up your lineup, and you'll get a $50 instant play when you use that promo code. It's not only the #1 fantasy app, it's also the #1 college app. So make sure that you go to prizepicks.com and use the promo code SECU. Eric Rivers was a top 5 wide receiver in college football this year. And most of you probably didn't know that because if he played at Florida International. That was a very underwhelming team. 62 catches, 1,172 yards, 18.9 yards per catch, and 12 touchdowns. According to Hayes Fawcett, he's got over 43 schools interested in him. And yes, that includes ample teams from the SEC. Now, naturally, he's probably not going to land at a Georgia. He's probably not going to land at an Alabama. He's probably not going to land at a University of Texas. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't belong in the conference. Currently, he's expected to go visit Miami this weekend. That might be the favorite. He is from the area, actually from Chattanooga, but came on down. Florida International, really close by, able to stay in the same proximity, just basically go to a bigger program, and they're going to spend money. But I do think that there's going to be other SEC teams that should spend money. South Carolina being probably my favorite. Imagine an offense headlined by LaNorris Sellers that works with Mazio Bennett, Nick Harbor, and a dude that can fly down the football field. If Mike Shula is going to be the offensive coordinator, you need more weapons. And I do think that they have a good upcoming class, but you're entering win now mode. Think about like Missouri or Ole Miss last year. When they got to a New Year's Six Bowl, they secured a victory and they started to go all in for 2024. That's South Carolina for 2025. You have a quarterback that can lead you to a national championship. You have an offensive line that's going to be more improved. You're going to spend money on the defensive side of the football in the portal with NIL. Why not add in a weapon that is currently flying under the radar, isn't garnering the same amount of interest as Eric Singleton or a Casey Concepcion, but might be just as talented? This feels like a plug-and-play addition for a guy that could emerge as a future #1 wide receiver, first-round prospect, and you bring him in for a fraction of the price of what you would have paid at other schools. How about Florida? Florida, again, the guy just played at FIU. It's really close by in proximity. Gainesville to Miami, what is it, about 5 hours, 6 hours if I'm not mistaken? I'm not geography, dude, so don't go ahead and hit me in the comments section. They need to bring in another receiver for DJ Lagway. Again, your selling point to any pass catcher is we have a quarterback that we feel can win a Heisman Trophy, and you could be on the receiving side for a Biletnikoff Award in the process. That's what you got. And they're going to need to replace some talent. Shamir Dike, probably going to be gone. Elijah Badger, I'm guaranteeing is going to be gone. What's the status of Trey Wilson? He wasn't fully healthy this year. Is he coming back next season? You have an Aiden Mizell that I do believe is going to be a consistent playmaker, especially with the vertical threat. The fact that he didn't get in the end zone against Mississippi State so bothers me because of a heinous blocking call against, I think it was Montrell Johnson. Regardless, I'm not going to get into that. This is an offense that wants to take that next step forward. This is an offense that wants to be able to continue its passing attack. And this is an offense that needs a vertical threat. Eric Rivers can be that vertical threat. And he's going to be somebody that if you add in, will at least provide more sustainability opposite of DJ Lagway. You don't need him to be the #1. You want him to be the #1. And sometimes you don't need a #1 wide receiver. You just need 3 really good dudes that can each take on the mantle of being the top target depending on which Saturday. Another team that I think should be interested in him. How about Mississippi State? People think that I hate Mississippi State because if I never talk positively about them. If we're talking about an offense that basically is vertical passing with an emphasis on the ground game, and you can get a wide receiver that this past year averaged nearly 19 yards per play, if I got to overspend to go bring him in, I'm absolutely going to do that. There is rumor and speculation that with Michael Van Buren going to the transfer portal, they're going to add in Jackson Arnold. I don't know what Jackson Arnold is. I don't think anybody knows what Jackson Arnold is. He won Elite 11 a few years ago. We think that he is a pretty solid quarterback. The fact that Jeff Levy, who is the play caller and the head coach, was able to get the best version out of Jackson Arnold, minus the turnovers, that might be a good selling point. Starkville, again, if they're willing to spend money, if they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, and they want to continue building the foundation after what was a very lackluster, underwhelming year out in Starkville, I think that you probably want to go ahead and get in a difference maker and somebody that will become pretty big name in the SEC. Like Matthew Golden this past year went from the University of Houston and still is flying under the radar despite being the number one go-to target for Quinn Ewers. What if that's Eric Rivers out for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and he's being that dude for Jackson Arnold or whoever they bring in at quarterback? Two more for you. Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to add in a wide receiver. They've been linked to Jonte Cook. They've been linked to Micah Hudson. They've been linked to Casey Concepcion. This is a guy that very similarly, I think, can have a role like Ja'Day Walker. So Ja'Day Walker comes in from Grand Valley State. He's a really, really talented vertical playmaker. Steps on up big in the final year of the Jimbo Fisher era because of Evan Stewart dealing with injuries. Last season, had a really good year and was a consistent playmaker for both Connor Rigman and for Marcel Reed. This is somebody that needs to get another weapon. This is a program that is not going to sit by idly and watch as teams like Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama spend money on wide receivers, on tight ends, on running backs. They're going to bring in a dude. And they like Terry Bussey. And they like Noah Thomas. And they like what they have in some depth pieces. But they want to get better. They want to build a team that is defensive-minded first, but still has an emphasis on the passing attack. And if you can get a guy like Eric Rivers with that speed, Marcel Reed, all he has to do is wait for the first move, uncork one deep downfield, and there's a 20-yard gain to set up Le'Veon Moss, to set up Reuben Owens, to set up Reed with his rushing attack for this Colin Klein-led offense. It's not my favorite pick for a guy like Eric Rivers, but I think it at least has to be on the radar. And last but not least, I go with LSU. What's LSU's selling point? Over wide receiver Hugh. Look at how many players we have punched out into the NFL, from Odell Beckham Jr. to Jarvis Landry to Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Kyron Lacey's going to join the list. And this is not including guys that didn't make a household name in the pros. Guys like Terrence Marshall, guys like why am I blanking on the guy that played for the New York Jets forever? But you know what I'm trying to say. There's a handful of players that come into Baton Rouge and leave better because of it. If Eric Rivers can be a number one receiver for whoever is the starting quarterback in Death Valley in 2024, the way that many people thought maybe CJ Daniels was going to be that, maybe Xavier Thomas was going to be that, then this is somebody that you bank on being a reason why you're rebuilding. You already heard Brian Kelly say, we're going to be a national championship threat in 2025. With who? With what pieces? You have to get better at the wide receiver position. You're losing Mason Thomas. You've already watched as CJ Daniels went to the transfer portal. Yes, you got Chris Hinton, but you got to get better at other pieces around him. This is somebody that can be that difference maker. This is somebody that can be a quality number 2 or on any given Saturday a number 1. So I really think that if you are Eric Rivers, you're viewing Death Valley, you're viewing Tiger Stadium, you're viewing the ambiance of playing for the purple and gold as a destination that could absolutely make sense. Let me know in the comment section down below. Where do you think Eric Rivers should land in the SEC? Do you think he even comes to the SEC? Like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, folks, I am Cole Thompson. The transfer portal is just college football's free agency. Peace.